everyone. This is It's Your Time, and my name is Vicki.
And my name is Dawna, and today we're saying it's your time to get to self-love.
Or get as close as you can in this lifetime and still be in a 3D body.
Okay. All right then.
It's a tough road.
Only if you think it is, grasshopper.
Oh, okay,
That's how they
Mom.
say.
Okay.
It already got me laughing and coughing. So
Good.
we hope that I'm sure that many people have their idea of what self-love is, but we just wanted to talk, have a couple of ideas that Vicki came up with, acceptance and forgiveness. So why don't you start?
Well, tough love is a hard road for everyone. I would say, no, I wouldn't even say people who had the worst upbringings, who had a really bad childhood. It is hard to get to self-love because you have been raised not knowing what love was. And so when you don't know what something is, you don't know how to give it to yourself. You can feel emotions for people, but maybe you don't know that that's love. Maybe you're just not sure because maybe you feel like you're not worthy of it. So I just had some thoughts, and I like to, talk about these thoughts that I get. But self-love is something that we're all told to do. You have to love yourself first, and that is true. You must love yourself before you can actually truly love someone else. And to love yourself, you have to realize that that includes boundaries, that includes putting yourself first, but not necessarily above. That's hard.
Good
And
point.
especially if you have children, or your animals, or any being that you love so totally with all of your heart. How do you put yourself first over that person? But you have to realize you have to save yourself to save that other person.
Hmm.
You can't go in broken because you won't have the strength. So you have to find your way to self-love.
Hmm.
And Dawna was asking me, okay, well, then how do you get there? And the first things that popped into my mind were acceptance and forgiveness. So to accept yourself means to accept all of those pieces of yourself that you don't think anyone can love, because either you've been told that, or you've felt that, or you've overheard something, or anything that makes you feel less than. We all have gone through that.
Or
Going through school is a big trial on self-love.
if
Because
you're different, if you feel something different than other people, that makes it hard to also. Yeah.
yes, yes.
And school does.
So yes, so you have to accept yourself, and then you have to accept others for who they are. And that is very difficult also, because some people are not the nicest people. But you have to accept that they are on their own path, they're on their own journey. You can't make them think like you, which I would love to do. And because
But
it'd be easier. But you just have to accept. You have to accept life as it is. You have to accept you as you are. You can't go, oh well, after I lose 10 pounds, or after I go to the gym, or if I start eating better. You have to love who you are, flaws and all, and realize that this is what you're experiencing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You are experiencing, like, I love fast food. I know that's not good for me. I am totally aware, but it is, it's a weakness of mine. And I love that about myself. It's a little hard to say, but you have to get there. And
yes,
so you have to allow yourself to be the imperfect, perfect human that you are.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And then you have to forgive. And you have to forgive yourself for not being that perfect human that you wish you would be. You have to forgive yourself for not being the nicest at times because we all have our down days. You have to forgive yourself for allowing someone else to maybe abuse you, to maybe talk down to you. You have to give yourself the grace to go, I can always get better. And that is what I'm here to do, is to get better, to be a more full version of me. And then you
Right.
have to forgive others. And that's the hardest part because they're not you. And they're not going to think like you. And they're not going to be nice at all times. And maybe that's not their path. And maybe you have been terribly abused by someone. You know, just because you forgive doesn't mean that you condone.
Right.
And you're not forgiving them for them, even though it does help them. You're forgiving them for you so that you can release that burden from carrying it.
Totally. Totally. That is right. That's true. And you were talking about being a perfect being. My upbringing was more that I don't even know how to say it without sounding.
No, just say it.
When you say you're a perfect being, I was taught that, and I had a different upbringing. I was not abused during my upbringing, other than the normal generational things. Um, so my contrast didn't come till after I left home. But while I was growing up, I was taught that I was perfect, but the world didn't think I was. And I didn't think of it as, oh, I am perfect. I don't make mistakes. It wasn't like that. It was, I totally knew and thought that I was. So that looked really uppity to some people. And so I had to accept that that's how I feel and that they don't feel that way. And I had to, forgive. And that's not to say that I don't have faults, or that I know I do. But I'm speaking of, being a part of something bigger than myself. Not that I'm perfect within myself, but I'm a perfect being because I am, because I'm here. And I lost sight of that for a long time. And that, yeah, so I had to forgive myself for falling into that, but also that's what helped me grow. So, you have to have that resistance in order to push you into growing. But
If you don't have anything to learn, you have nowhere to grow into. And
that
we never stop growing, so there's your clue. So
that's right.
there's your
Every day, every day. And accepting yourself, I think that will help you accept others. If you accept that you are who you are because of, what you've been through, etc. Actually, I think it worked better the other way around, that I was accepting other people and understanding, and forgiving, because that was their road, and also because that was I thought of that was what they needed to do in their life, but also in my life. So it was like a yin and yang thing, a give and take. So, but once you do that, when you accept yourself and you can forgive, and like you said, not condone, you don't necessarily forget, because that's where your boundaries come in, what you were talking about. But once you do that, then you will notice, very easily things will change in your life once you accept yourself, for who you are. I've noticed that's when my tribe started showing up, and synchronicity started showing up. And but I think the biggest thing, and the one thing that I tell people that are always down on themselves, let them know you are the only you that is and will ever be. There will never be anyone like you. There will never be anyone ever. There never was anyone ever that was like you. You are totally like a snowflake, you know? Well, I don't mean it in the political way. I mean, oh, I shouldn't have said that, but I mean, I mean,
I
we're
like
all
to think
different.
of I like well, we're all our own unique frequency, And this is how I explain it. We're all our unique frequency. We are all you are just you. There is no one else. But if you think of yourself as a note in an orchestra, you have one violin, that's you. You have one flautist, that's me. You have one, but it's
I'm a
like
cello. I'm a
with
cello.
and in addition to, being a different instrument, you're a different chord, you're a different note. So it's
Mhm.
like you have all these people that you relate to, but you are uniquely you and nobody has your tone. And so you have to understand that your tone makes the orchestra whole. And that
Right.
is, if somebody's out of tune, it puts the whole orchestra out of tune.
It
Think of it
does. It
that way. Like,
and also if you feel that you don't belong, like, oh, like people say, oh, well, I'm just another flautist, and I'm not a timpanist, the percussionist does everything, and think of it that way. Yeah, but you play your flute in a different way than anyone else does. You may add another note that brings more timbre to the sound of the orchestra.
oh, how funny. I had a dream last night that I was playing a flute, but I
Hmm.
couldn't get it to make a sound,
Oh,
because I haven't worked on my embouchure for what, 60 years.
never goes away. Never goes.
It's like, and it almost has been 60 years.
Oh, wow.
I used to be an exaggeration, but ha, surprise. But but so and I couldn't get it to make a note because I was so out of practice and I kept blowing in it and blowing in it and blowing in it. It's like, and when you said, "Oh, I'm just a flautist," yes, but you have your own tone of playing that
Mhm.
flute. Because I remember when I was in high school, we had this new person come in, and I was always first chair because I was pretty good technically. That's who I am.
'Cause you're perfect. That's right.
Not always. I wasn't perfect, but I was perfectly perfect for that. Well,
Yeah.
this new person came in, and she was younger. She was in a grade younger, but she had taken flute lessons. You know,
Oh,
uh, and she had the prettiest tone. I don't know how
uh,
she got it, but it was
some people are
full,
born.
it was rich. So you have your own tone is,
Mhm.
is where we were going with this. And
Yes, it's true, you do. And
and
you don't know orchestras, you can say a barrel of apples or a barrel of oranges, how, some of them, and also that some people like the sweeter ones, some people like the more bitter,
mhm,
it's all of it together. It's like, or making soup, when you put a certain add that little bit of cumin to it. It makes it a whole bit of a whole big difference in the taste and
yeah,
gives it more timbre. There you
yeah.
go, more tone. So yeah.
So so now let's talk about what do you do to show self-love to yourself?
Mhm.
What do you do? You have to actually take time for yourself to show yourself some love, right? So,
Definitely.
Donna, what do you do?
Oh my goodness. Well, I live alone, so I do it 24/7. I'm
Well, no, but there are times that you set yourself out to do it specifically.
right, right. When I think I did have to learn. I did have to learn self-love, and I also have to regulate myself still sometimes. So I stopped berating myself for, like you said, for fast foods or whatever, the things that we eat that we're not supposed to, or that we drink, or if I didn't exercise that day, I have learned not to berate myself and say, well, maybe there was a good reason. And I could look at it as, a lot of times it could be my body just needed a rest that day and I wasn't listening, so it's like the synchronicities happen that I don't end up going. So I don't think it's all on me. I think my team helps me a lot with that too. But when with my new boundaries that I have, I do rest more. And I used to try to do readings or whatever in the evenings after my day of work. And I realized that I can't do that. So this is part of my boundaries. So my self-love is to, find a good TV show that I like. I love cop shows, which I know that I will outgrow because I've outgrown a lot of other shows that I don't want to watch anymore because they're too
But you
violent.
still love your cop shows.
Yeah, but I love my cop
Everybody
shows.
gets something.
Yeah, and also any show that is like I don't watch Little House on the Prairie anymore, but those types of, loving, happy things where there's drama and then and in half an hour it's solved and everybody loves everybody. I love those. So, and
So we'll talk about my new show that I love, which
oh,
is not Little House on the Prairie.
oh,
If But some people like other things.
oh,
It doesn't always have to be nice and loving. It can be gory and bloody and violent.
yes, I like
I am fascinated with The 100 on Netflix. I
right.
know it's a very old series and it's very violent and it's very bloody. But the moral the moral dilemmas that they go through, I just find fascinating. What would you do? How would you survive? What is the right? What is the wrong? And is it for yourself? Is it for the whole? I mean, it kind of freaks me out sometimes thinking about that stuff.
Well, but but
but
it
I
helps.
put up with the blood and the gore to get to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it also is it's helping you release any of those things that are within you that you may not
It
even
sure
be able.
does.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing that I do. I mean, I do other I do water aerobics. People say, "Oh, you're exercising every day." Yeah, but I
Oh,
don't I look at
water I wish I had
how
a
they
place to
are.
do water aerobics every day. As I
It,
told you, it's like you're living my best life. I want to have a pool where I get to do water aerobics every day, that I just walk to the pool, but I don't have to take care of it. But
right.
that is a wonderful bit of self-love that you show yourself.
It is, and I enjoy it because there's camaraderie there also, but if I go by myself, I look at the sky, the clouds, I'm just so and the mountains. Oh my gosh, the mountains, and I'm just so thankful to be there that I don't even think of it as self-love. And but once in a while I'll be like, oh, I don't want to go to. Oh, well, you got to love yourself. Yeah, you're right, and I'll make sure I go. But, I'll do other things like every so often I'll be, I haven't read a book in a while. Sit down and, you have an afternoon to do nothing. When that happens, it doesn't happen often, but when that happens, that is also self-love. It's not just taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
Meditation I do every day. I don't think of that as self-care, but it is.
It's very much self-care.
And I love cooking, so I just found an Asian market nearby, and I just bought a whole bunch of yummy things. So this being Labor Day weekend, I have time on my hands. I'm going to do some cooking, and that is self love too because the food is good for me. You know,
No,
so
but
uh,
it's
you
it's not because the food is good for you. It's because you love doing it.
I love cooking and it's going to give
Yes.
me good food. And it's just for me, which is, well, I give to the neighbors too sometimes. But I used to be my self-love used to be everybody has to leave me alone while I have a bath and let me get rid of this stress. Oh, the stress has to leave. The stress has to leave. Now it's just stress free because I had to make my life like that or I would have died. I was just really just being in that total fight and flight, fight or flight 24/7 is not good for you, not healthy. So I had to like redo my whole life around myself.
Mhm.
So if that isn't self-love, I don't know. I don't know what is. But
Yeah, a while ago, I had well, I did a lot of paint by numbers, a lot of paint by numbers, right? So
yeah,
it started in COVID because you're supposed to tell yourself, well, what did you do as a kid that you want to have fun with? And this is also to bring joy into your life because everybody needs to bring some joy into their lives. And
Mhm.
so what I used to do was I used to do a paint by number. I thought, I was pretty good at that. I can paint within the lines. And so I started doing it. And now my house is filled with beautiful paintings that I find joyous to look at. Well, I had not done it for a very long time. And I kind of just got out of it for a while. I had painted myself dry. And so then I got into diamond art. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It was a little repetitive. It's not like painting where you get, to play with paint. But I did it because I'm a very structured individual,
Mhm.
and you can do it, watching TV, it's like you're in a meditative state almost. And so now I did that, and so now I'm back into painting a picture. And it's like I love doing that stuff.
Mhm.
That is something I am drawn to just do. And that's, oh, and I do yoga, my gentle yoga. I don't do hard stuff because that
You're
wouldn't
very
make me
limber
happy.
though. You sit cross-legged all the time. I can't even do that even because even though I do water
Oh,
aerobic. Good for you.
yeah, I can sit cross-legged and
Yeah,
I can get up off the floor. So, yay for
yeah,
me.
so that's good. That's a good thing.
That is always a good thing for somebody
Yeah.
at my age.
Well, you were talking about being in a meditative state. When I used to paint, which I'll get back to eventually, but when I retire, I guess. But when I used to paint, I now know I was channeling other artists because when I look at the paintings, I say that looks like Monet, that looks like Cezanne, that looks like Cazat, whichever I can't think of the other ones, but anyway, and then that made me think that, okay, when I'm doing that, I'm channeling. Somebody had said that's channeling. And I was like, so I wasn't so afraid to do the actual channeling. When I saw that, it's like, I've been doing this my whole life and didn't know. But my point being that anything that's going to put you in that state, it's more than joy. And it brings you joy to have those on your wall to remind you, and they're beautiful pictures. I mean, they are beautiful. And it's always good to have flowers and mountains around you, no matter if they're
That's
painted or
right.
not.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right. So, so that's a good thing too. But even for some people, it may just be sitting outside with your feet on the ground and a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, that I wish I could do that. But, where I live, it doesn't work out. I have too many neighbors and it's too hot. So, I'd like to do that on my own looking at the mountains, but I'm not, I can't do that. But I guess I could if I wanted to bad.
If you really, really wanted to, you would make the
I would
time.
find a way. I would take my coffee to the pool because by the pool you can see the mountains really well. But whatever. There are so many things, and it's not just, doing things with your hands is definitely going to put you in a channeling mode, if you ask me. It's just my opinion. And and also gardening. People do that's like a meditative state you go into
Mhm.
when you're gardening. So and gardening ends up helping everyone because you have fun doing it. You're connecting with the soil, and they say apparently the soil has, I don't know, some enzyme in it or whatever that's almost like Valium that, calms people. We're learning all these things.
And
Anything
and it helps the earth too, because when you touch the earth, you are sharing your energy.
that's absolutely, and because the earth is
They're
the
sharing their energy with you to bring in your calmness, and you are sharing your energy with the earth because you're showing it love, because you
uh,
love what you're doing.
yes, and then you end up with a lot of good food that's good for you.
Or
So,
flowers or
or
weeds,
flowers.
depending on your color of
Yeah,
thumb.
I that's something I've had a hard time with lately, pulling weeds. It's like they tell you have to weed your yard, and every time I just tell them, "I'm so sorry, I have to pull you. I don't like to do because they're to me they're not weeds. I mean, well, the
Well, some of them are just weeds.
the dandelions, well, dandelions are not weeds. They are very good for us.
Yes, I didn't say dandelions.
I did.
I didn't
But
say
to me, because they seed and then they get in other people's
yes.
yards and they all that 3D stuff. I should really live out somewhere in the forest or something, but.
but you
bugs,
don't.
bugs and snakes and bears and yeah, no. Anyway,
So, so anyway,
yes.
so to bring it to a close,
Yes. How do you get to self-love? That would be, put it in the comments. How do you get to self-love? And if you have any pointers from your own stories of, finding your own acceptance, accepting yourself and
and
forgiveness
if
for
you wanted to talk about it on a podcast, I could think of one
you.
that, it
That's
might be
true.
fun to be on.
That would be very
Just
timely.
saying.
It's your time.
Just saying.
It's your time. Yeah, and that's something I've been meaning to say. It kills me that the guides wanted us to call this "It's Your Time" when they don't even acknowledge that there is time unless we ask them to.
Oh, the joke's on us.
Yeah, right. It's so funny. Anyway, so it is your time for self-love and
And to
find
find it.
find acceptance. That is it. Accept yourself.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thanks for being with us.
Thanks,
We'll talk to
everybody.
you
Like,
later.
subscribe, and share. Love you
Oh,
all.
yeah. Subscribe and share. Thank you. All right. Love you. Bye.
Bye.